You know, some people are gonna hate just to hate. I think it's time we talked about the Zoom Freak 1. Hey guys, what's poppin'? Jacques Slade here, and welcome to Greece for the launch of the Nike Air Zoom Freak 1. I'm here in Athens, in Giannis Antetokounmpo's hometown, and we saw the launch of his shoe yesterday at the Zepion. But let's get into the details of the shoe. First thing you need to know is that there is a double stacked zoom unit in the heel, and this is to provide him with impact protection. Giannis is obviously a really huge guy. He's 6'11", comes down really hard on his feet, and that zoom unit in the heel provides the impact protection that he needs, but it's also responsive. The point of it is to allow him to land hard, but also to be able to snap right off of it and get that first step going. So he has that double stacked zoom unit in the heel for that purpose. Keeping with the cushioning setup, we have Phylon throughout the midsole. The double stack zoom unit is embedded inside of the Phylon, and it's a different version of Phylon than what we're used to seeing from Nike. I talked to the designer Ross Klein, and what they did is they changed the consistency of the Phylon to make it just a little bit softer than usual, and this works in tandem with the zoom unit. So he has the snap of the zoom unit, or the responsiveness of the zoom unit, and he falls that forefoot right into that Phylon, and it's soft enough so that he can get some grip with his big toe, and his pinky toe is how they explain it to me, but it's not too soft where it would displace around his foot, which would be counterintuitive. So they created what they're thinking is just the right consistency to allow him to take off and get that first step and move forward up and down the court. That leads us to the rubber on the shoe. As you can see, he uses two different versions of rubber on the shoe. There is the translucent, and then they have the white rubber here. The rubber is malleable. It's pretty soft, but it's not too soft that you couldn't get some good runs in outside. That's one of the issues with traction, is either you make it really, really durable so that it works outside, or you make it soft so that it works inside. But for his shoe, he wanted his shoe to be durable, but he also wanted it at a price point where kids that can't afford really expensive shoes could get his shoes as well. And with that, we know a lot of those kids usually end up playing outside. So his shoe has, I would say, a nice consistency where you don't feel like it's soft where it's only available in the gym, but it's not too hard where it's only available to play outside. So it's a good mix of those two. And if you transition back and forth between outside and inside, I think you'll be happy with the way that this setup is built. The next thing you should know about is the containment unit on the shoe, and this is really shown here. You see that they have these four almost like arms or legs that reach down and lock you down right at the forefoot. They have them on the lateral side, and then they also have them on the medial side. Nike doesn't have an exact name for this system. They just call it a containment system, and it helps keep you locked down. I would almost call these ribbons that come from the lace eyelets and lock you right down to the stroller board. Moving on to the heel of the shoe, and this is one of the more dynamic parts of the shoe where they have this Nike swoosh, but that Nike swoosh actually helps with the heel counter to help keep your foot locked inside of the shoe. And if you actually look on the medial side, you can see that the outsole actually extends up as well to provide an additional area of support on the inside for your foot as well. So you have lots of protection here in your heel cup. Now, I know a lot of people want to have high top shoes because they think that's where the ankle protection comes from, but really the protection comes from the heel cup of getting you locked in and sitting your foot in there just right. Moving on to the lateral side of the shoe, you see that we have almost like a fin sort of piece here, and that extends from the outsole up onto the outside of your foot, and this is to prevent your foot from rolling over the side of your shoes. You know, if you've ever done any training in like a fly knit shoe or something with a real soft and malleable upper, that when you make those hard cuts, your foot can kind of slide off to the side. This, although it's not hard that it's going to give you a hard stop, it is hard enough to provide a little bit of protection and to prevent your foot from sliding all the way over to the side. Moving into some of the finer details that we find on the shoe, is we have the number 34 here on the heel, and this obviously represents Giannis's number, but it's also a play on the Greek flag. So if you know what the Greek flag looks like, you can see that that 34 kind of messes with that and does like its own version of the Greek flag right there, which looks pretty cool. Moving to the tongue, we have Giannis's logo. It's a G and an A for Giannis Antetokounmpo, and the G and the A are actually locked in together. They have a whole design philosophy around the logo, which I really love, so it's just not something that looks good. They actually went into detail, and the G and the A, how they don't work unless both of the letters are there. So if you take the G away, then you can't form the A, and if you take the A away, then you can't form the G. This speaks to Giannis's bond with his family, which is all over this shoe. This entire shoe pretty much inspired by his family, from the design details to really obvious things like his mother and his father's name. And speaking of his mother and father, they are a big part of his life. His father has passed, but his mother is still alive. And he has both of their names here on the medial side of the shoe, right near the arch of your foot. And continuing with the mother and father theme, Giannis has a lot of respect for his father. He passed a couple years ago, and he always wants to leave a legacy the way that his father left a legacy with him. So on the shoe here, right on the outsole, it says, "I am my father's legacy." Yesterday at the launch event, Giannis mentioned that he wants to impact people the way that his father impacted him, which I think is really dope. And that's why he has this dedication to his father right there on the bottom of his shoe. So it's not just about his mom and his dad. Giannis has a lot of love for his brothers as well. There are 4 of them. So he has their names here on the heel. There's Francis, there's Thanasis, there's Costas, and there is Alex. And you can find their names in very light detail right there on the heel. Now, taking all those things into account, you can see where the design of the shoe comes from. It's all family oriented. So first we have this heel cup that keeps you locked in. This whole back section, that is representative of his mother. Then we have the lockdown here on the forefoot. That is representative of his brother, his 4 brothers that help keep him locked down and keep him who he is. And then we have the foundation of the shoe, which is the outsole. And you see that's where it has "I am my father's legacy." And that's what the bottom of the shoe represents. It represents the foundation that he received from his father. Taking a look at all of the details of the shoe, it is very unique. And I know the shoe received a lot of hate initially, but getting the shoe in hand, I think it's really going to change the mind of a lot of people. It takes the color really well. It plays really well. We got to do a little bit of wear testing in the shoe yesterday, playing some 5-on-5 games and doing a couple drills. And you can definitely feel the zoom unit in the heel. The phylon is nice and soft. They don't have to break in. I felt really comfortable wearing these just in the drills and the 5-on-5 that we were playing yesterday. Didn't find any irritation points. Sometimes with shoes, you get a hot spot here and there, or you need to break them in initially in order to play in them really well. And I didn't think about that at all with these shoes. The way that I really try to qualify or review shoes, especially using them really quickly, is I wanted to make sure that I'm not thinking about the shoe. And yesterday, once you got started and started playing basketball, like, the shoe disappears, which is really what I think every shoe that you wear should do, especially when it comes to performance. It shouldn't be something that you're thinking about, "Oh, I don't feel the zoom," or "I don't feel the phylon," or "my foot's rolling over." Like, none of that stuff should enter your mind. It should be simply that you're playing basketball, you feel great, your feet feel great, you feel the cushioning that you need, you feel the responsiveness that you need, but you're not literally thinking about those things. Those things just happen. And I think with the Zoom Freak 1, that just happens, at least from my initial wear testing. Now, these are obviously going to need some more tests. Like, the little test that I was able to do in them yesterday doesn't give them a full review. These are just my initial thoughts of the shoe, but getting the shoe in hand, I do think people are going to be very, very happy with it. Again, the durability of the upper, they have like this netting on the upper that adds this extra level of durability. If you like to drag your toe, they have an additional piece of TPU right here just for a little bit more protection. You can see they have the taping around the eyelets just to add some protection there so that the shoes don't become frayed from the laces. They have a lot of nice padding here at the heel. That's obviously for comfort, but it also adds to the way that it keeps your foot locked in at the heel, so you have that additional level of protection. Now, for those of you that are looking to grab a pair of these are going to be available. They're probably available right now for $120. This is the first colorway, the All Bros colorway. this seemingly represents his brother, but it actually represents a lot more than that. There's also going to be a black and white version that's going to be released later in July. That is just called black and white. It's just an inline colorway. There are no details to that. And then there's also a roses colorway, which is dedicated to his father. As I spoke of earlier in this video, his father died approximately 2 years ago, and he laid a rose on his father's grave, and that's where the roses colorway comes from. His father loved white, red, and gold, and that's why the shoe is represented in white, red, and gold. But anyway, just want to give you guys a quick look at these. Again, this is the Nike Air Zoom Freak 1. These released for $120. With that being said, I'm Jacques Slade. As always, I appreciate you. And for you haters that are hating on the Zoom Freak 1, I think it's time you stop.